I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're gonna drink a fine whiskey and smoke a really fine cigar.
It is time for Happy Hour. It's the Man Cave Happy Hour. Whiskey, cigars, spirits, the stories that go along with it. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
I am Matt Fox.
I'm still August Gitschlag.
Hi, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right, guys. How are you doing?
Good. We got an interesting evening ahead of us here, an interesting show. I want to take you guys back to the Whiskey Classic. And we were hanging out with Audet.
Yes. Will this now be the farthest north we've podcasted?
This, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're further north than the Packard
Which parallel
here.
we're on?
Yeah. We're getting up there.
The 43rd, I think.
So Audet deals with so many different spirits and so many different venues. And he said, I got a couple of guys that you guys got to talk to. So Audet led us down this path. And today...
we'll say let us up this road
yes.
instead of letting us down. Well, just playing with words there?
Yes.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Mr. Literal. Yes, please. Yes.
But we're going to be drinking some amazing whiskey tonight. And there's like some bottles I'm like, that were probably more than my first car.
Well, I don't know what's prettier, the bottles or this little Lake Orion historic district that we're camped out in. They're both rather gorgeous. There's all these happy little children running around a gazebo right outside the window there. Everyone's smiling, little water running. We're at the Wine Social right here, right in downtown. Yes,
That's
we
it.
got the place all to ourselves.
And we got Bhakta. Yeah, there we go. I scared myself out of it.
Bhakta. Yes.
Bhakta.
Johann Sebastian Bach.
Bhakta. So the Bhakta whiskeys, we're going to be giving these a try, and they got some amazing finishes on it. So Leo from Leo Gibson from Bhakta, and then here at Wine Social, Doug Jones. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us here in the Man Cave today, or actually in your establishment, Wine Social.
Cave, right,
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for opening the doors for us. We really, really appreciate it. So before we get into the whiskey, let's find out a little bit about the Wine Social and about you a little bit, Doug. Doug, tell me about your childhood.
Childhood. Wow. Okay. Well, there was the early years. Now this has been Wine Social is kind of my man cave, literally, right? So, I've been on the medical device side of the world for about 20 years now.
Elbows, knees.
Yes, and yes. Elbows, knees, hips, shoulders, knees and toes, kind of thing.
Replacement livers? Because I'm in the market for a robo liver.
Working on
so
that.
okay.
No, but I've been on the orthopedic side of the world for about 20 years, doing medical device, doing total hips, total knees, total ankles, trauma products, all the sorts. And we moved to Lake Orion about 15 years ago.
Nice.
And about 7 years in or so, decided, really love the area. We love the lakes, love the community. There's really, really cool base of people here. And I decided I really wanted to own a business in the town that I was going to raise my family. We have 4 beautiful daughters, beautiful wife, and we're involved in the community with the schools and sports and other things, and really wanted to own a business in the town where I was raising my family.
Nice.
And didn't really know what I wanted to do, but a wine bar seemed like a really good idea. I love wine, I love spirits, but more than that, I love the community behind it. And like wine's got a story, spirits have a story, and I love to share those stories with friends I know, with friends I meet, right? And so it literally started from that. Didn't have any experience in the restaurant industry, just an idea and more of a feeling of a community base behind it.
There's a picture on the wall when you first walk in.
Yep.
Help me understand that picture, because it says 2 guys had an idea, or what does that sign say? What does that picture say?
We were featured in the Lake Orion magazine a few years back, and they did a feature of us during New Year's Eve time, and so we had the families all dressed up, and that's my partner Chris.
Got it.
Yeah, but the story is one day over a glass of wine.
Okay.
And it literally all started one day over a glass of wine, a conversation, an idea, and we went for it.
That's great.
And then during COVID, we actually doubled our space during that time, and that's what kind of really grew the place into what it is that you see now. It's
a gorgeous spot. It
And
really
Doug,
is.
I wish we could pan the camera here because there's an amazing central island bar, floor-to-ceiling windows looking down on the river that feeds out of Lake Orion.
Yep.
Beautiful
Creek.
woodwork throughout. And just the energy in this place when you come in, just any random night, the number of people smiling, laughing. This isn't the bar to come to if you want to get into a drag-down knockout fight.
no.
Oh, no,
at
no,
2
Please,
a.m.
please don't.
But no, this is the bar to come to have fun.
Well,
Yeah,
I work in politics, so I'm used to people not answering the question that was asked. We were going to get to all of that.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
You wanted to know about your childhood. I mean, we were going to get to all that anyway. That was like the next question. But
Sure.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's let's dig deep. All right, just the playground issues. No. We don't.
I
do
guess
that
my
at all.
playground issues go back to Clawson, so we can
Oh,
get
yeah.
we can get deep into that.
Yeah, mine start from the Dunn River area. That's where I was born and raised.
Okay. So, Doug, when you're picking the spirits and you're picking the wines to have, because there's only so much shelf space.
Sure.
What do you look for in a wine that you're picking, and then in a spirit?
Yeah, great question for the wine, and similar to the spirits too. We try to focus on some of the lesser known brands, but the quality is high, right? So some of the vintners that you don't maybe hear about, there's the big names out there, right? Which are great wines, but there's a lot of great wine out there that you don't have to necessarily spend that top dollar for. And we've also noticed that some of the bigger manufacturers, I'm not saying all, but there's certain select few that tend to be a little more polluted, right? And we try to find kind of the cleaner wines, the wines that are a little bit more of a value based, but the quality is excellent. So more the boutique wines, because again, we're a wine bar, but we're not in downtown Detroit. We're not in downtown LA. We're in Lake Orion, northern or Birmingham for that matter. We're in northern Oakland County, right? And so we want to offer our customers something a little different that they might not find at the big stores, right?
Sure.
So dealing with the wines, and somebody comes in and they want to know about them, how much training do you do with your staff? How knowledgeable are they when they're recommending? And do you guys do tastings in house? How do you train your people?
We do a lot of tastings. We have two sommeliers that are on staff with us, and they help us pick our wines, and they're the ones that kind of say, hey, here's a great wine that you probably never heard of, but it's great because this, and this. And I know Joe, the main winemaker from that vintner, and he meets you with overalls when you're out on his farm, right?
Nice.
Versus a suit, right? That's what we're trying to go for. But yeah, we do a lot of wine tastings here with the staff. We do a lot of education because we want the customers to get what they want, and in order for that to happen, the staff has to know what they're serving, right?
Sure.
So I was out with Colleen, and we were trying to pick something, and it was a nicer restaurant, and she was like, "Tell me about this," and the guy's like, "I have no idea." And I'm like,
At least he was honest, I guess,
well,
right?
Yeah. I'm like,
well, I say it's hard to get good help these days. You
Yeah.
just get anybody
It's,
who'll work sometimes.
yeah, it was. So it's good to hear that your people know if they come in, and you're introducing, because wines, there's so many different wines. And there's so many different spirits too, but there seems to be a lot more vineyards and a lot more wines to choose from, and you need that information if you're trying to make a decision, if you kind of know what you like.
I tell you, and climate change has really upped the Michigan wine game. We used to be no one touched red wines from Michigan. You just couldn't. It was more you had the same climate as Germany. You did all German wines up north. That was what the jam was. So now there's actually some jammy flavored wines. A little more to bring the word back there. I'm playing with words today. Considering how tired I am, I'm kind of on. What do you think, Matt?
Yes.
No, we're seeing it in Vermont too, where we're based. Historically, we've had to rely on hybrid grapes. A lot of them developed at the University of Minnesota or in Quebec, where they had sort of some cold hardy lineage in the, in the pedigree of the vine. But with things warming up, those couple of degrees mean the difference between when you've got to rely on those vines that will survive a 25 degree below 0 Fahrenheit freeze,
Sure.
and when you can get away with some of the, granted, they're still cold hardy vinifera vines. You're not planting Syrah or Grenache. Right. But, Riesling may work now in Vermont, whereas 10, 15, 20 years ago it wouldn't.
Last year, I was actually over in New York, I should say, but around the Finger Lake area. Mm-hmm. And there are so many vineyards and wine places in Keuka Lake area. Mm-hmm. I was astounded. And we went to, I think, all of them. I can't remember too much. But we hit a number of these wine places. And just the quality that was coming out of these places was incredible. Yeah. To the point where we now have on order every month 4 bottles from a certain place that comes to us because we enjoy it that much. Mm-hmm. It's just, but wine can be grown as long as the climate works, right? So what are some of the things that to piggyback on August's question, what are some of the things that you look for, and Jamie's question, when picking that wine? You have your sommeliers, but what is it that you are looking for personally?
For me, it's just, it's what I like.
Yeah.
Selfishly, right? But that's the great thing about wine too, is I can like one vintage and you can maybe not, but it's all about the story behind it.
Right.
And that's the cool thing about the boutique wines, is that there is more of a story, I feel like, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's more of a story to tell about how it's made, where it's made, who's involved with making it, because it's a much smaller cast than some of the bigger companies.
Right.
And but for me, I like to taste. Mm-hmm. And what I taste and I like and I smell and I like, we tend to carry on the shelves.
That's great. Then your palate works. Right.
Yeah, I made and distributed 9 cases of wine for Christmas last year. I'm a hobby winemaker.
Okay.
So I really get into it. I just play around with it, put some blackberry flavors and notes in it.
It's fun,
different tannins.
right?
I love it.
It's fun. Yeah.
Small batch wine is a fun hobby to have.
It is.
And people always like you have you around. It's like crazy.
Right. You get invited back to parties when
you do. You get invited back to parties.
Case of wine.
Case of wine. Yeah. That doesn't get anyone sick.
So, Doug, here at the Wine Social, wine for sure. Yeah. But you do a good job with your cocktails.
We do.
And is there food available? Where's your cocktail and where's your food go?
The food we leave. I figured getting into a bar when I had never owned one or had any experience in it besides bartending in college, right, was probably good enough with just going with the spirits and not trying to get into the food as well. And it's actually worked out really well for us. We do a nice charcuterie board. We do a cheese plate. We do some nuts from Eastern Market, from Rockies. But we leave the food to the experts. Right, and so we allow our patrons to bring in food from neighboring restaurants. We actually have some laminated menus on the corner from all the different neighboring restaurants. And that kind of helps us play well with the neighbors too, right? We help support them and play well in the sandbox together. Yeah. But we do have some really great caterers that we use for our private events and for bigger parties and things like that. We've done full plated weddings here and such.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, the food we leave at that, and then the spirits. Since we started, we always had a full Class C license. Okay. But we never really dove into the cocktail part of it until the last few years. Mm-hmm. Again, we've always had the beer and the cocktails, but we really didn't start to work into like the craft cocktails and the higher end stuff. Didn't exercise that full ability.
If I missed it, how many years have you been here?
We just had our 6th year anniversary.
Okay.
This July.
I didn't hear. I missed that number earlier.
Congratulations!
6
Thank
years.
you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, right on.
Made it through COVID. We did it.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So not everybody did.
No.
So wines, people will try things out of the ordinary, but a lot of times with spirits, people are like, give me a Jack Daniels. They want that known brand, and if you have a unique bottle on your shelf, it's a gamble sometimes. It seems like, right? So, what convinced you to take a chance on something like Bhakta?
Yeah, great question. So one of my good friends, Dr. Pierre Jacques, is an orthopedic surgeon down in the Wyandotte area.
Okay.
Met these guys before I did.
Okay.
And he was at the big whiskey and bourbon tasting in Las Vegas. Two years ago?
That's right.
When the world opened back up.
When the world opened back up, right. And he met Raj Bhakta, the co-founder of Bhakta, and PJ's favorite bourbon or whiskey was the Boss Hog, which Raj created when they started Whistlepig. Yeah. And so and PJ is a great guy, but he likes to do things right. So he got the high roller bracelet, right, to go and taste anything you want kind of thing, right?
Okay.
And so he ended up tasting some Boss Hog and then got to know Raj. And then Raj was like, hey, I have this new company. and here's what we're doing here. And PJ just fell in love. And
go.
so he set up a tasting with Leo back at his place down in Wyandotte. And I came down there, I met Leo and met the brand, and just like wine, it's got a great story.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the story, and then after I fell in love with the story, I fell in love with the spirit.
All right.
The spirit level matched the story level, right, in terms of quality.
Yeah.
And literally after that night, after meeting Leo and understanding who these people are and what they're doing, and then again tasting the spirits to help bring it all together, like I'm in.
Yeah.
And then they were gracious enough to host a little gathering here, and we're we're Northern Oakland County, right? We're a small, wine humble wine bar, right? But they had their first tasting in Michigan and for a public setting at our place, which I thought was really special. That a company of this stature that's growing this big and that it has what they have to do something like that for us.
It's great.
And it's literally been an incredible. Like, everyone we meet. Then we went to Vermont to do our own barrel blend. And met more people, and just the more you meet the people and the more you taste the spirits, it all just continues to match, right? When you had a situation where everything just keeps going in the right direction, you're like, well, this can't be all that good, and then it just keeps getting better and better and better. Right?
Yeah.
That's literally been how the experience has been so far.
It's like this show.
And I love I love the reference to Wyandotte, because I find Wyandotte to be this fascinating mix of wine bars and dive bars.
Yeah.
It's all in
Yeah,
the same
absolutely.
community.
Right
And
on
you
the river.
And right on the
Yeah.
river.
It's a
It's an
beautiful river.
underrated
It is.
town where you can get a high-end spirit, a high-end wine, and then go in a little dive bar with sawdust and peanuts on the floor
Absolutely.
still.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
So that brings us to. No, we're not open. Sorry.
Wrong place.
Doors unlocked.
Yeah. Bar's closed today. We got free run of the place, but didn't lock the door. So that brings us to Leo Gibson, and Bhakta, and it's named for Raj.
It is.
Bhakta.
Yeah, I've got co-founder on the business card, but
yeah,
Rod,
yeah.
that
It's
was
not a
just-
city in Kentucky,
yeah.
you're saying? It's not a Kentucky
Bhakta.
river or anything?
So
Not exactly.
So I want to know the story, like from Whistlepig to Bhakta. But first, tell me about your childhood.
Yeah, so I grew up in Sterling Heights, Michigan.
Oh, right
My
on.
folks were born on the east side of Detroit. In the same neighborhood as Augie's friend John Rutherford, where he now owns the Caju Cafe.
I was Seven in Van Dyke myself.
Is that right?
So
Okay.
Queen of Heaven was mine.
Yeah, they were Harvard. I used to go to the East
yeah.
Warren Parade.
Yeah.
I used to walk to Mr. C's to buy my candy bars when I was
Oh,
a kid.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as much as I grew up in Sterling Heights, Detroit, I was born in St. John's Hospital. I went to UD High School, 7 Mile in Livernois. So this has always been home.
Yeah.
And went east 4 years to get my undergraduate degree at Boston College, where I met Raj. We became very good friends. Everybody else was drinking beer. We thought we were really cool because we were drinking whiskey.
They got their little ascots on.
You were really cool, trust me.
Granted, it was Johnny Walker Black Label,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
still, hey,
For a college student,
still
though,
whiskey.
come on.
Counts.
we were drinking Black Label, and back then that was probably $18 a bottle.
That's
maybe,
crazy.
so
People are buying that Natty Ice Light.
$18 a bottle, yeah.
No, so for us it was
Keg.
like, let's throw a couple cubes in, let's talk about history and theology and these great intellectual interests that we had in common. So Raj goes off after we graduate from BC. He tries to get into the Marine Corps. He ends up in the officer candidate school there. Gets through that, their summer program, goes off for about 6 months before he's got to actually formally sign up. Ends up wrecking his shoulder in a skiing accident in the Alps, chasing a girl down a hill. Raj's story, the story's never end. And then he's got to find something else to do, so he ends up doing that's his story. We'll get into that later. But my story is, I stayed local. I was a Michigan guy, Detroit guy. Ended up going to the University of Michigan for law school. Most of my classmates from U of M ended up working in New York, Washington, D.C., Chicago, the Bay Area. I wanted to be by my folks. I wanted to be by my family. I stayed here. I was working for a law firm in downtown Detroit. Loved my work. I think I was pretty good at it. Couple things happened, though. One day, I get a call from my crazy college buddy who had bought a farm in the middle of nowhere in Vermont. And he says, Leo, I need $15,000 in 12 hours or I'm going to be bankrupt.
Oh, my God.
And so that was Raj. And what happened was the first tanker truck carrying the Alberta distillate from the ADL distillery out in Calgary to the farm that Raj had bought in Vermont with this vision of developing a grain-to-glass distillery, the first of its kind, basically, was hung up at the border in customs, and somebody needed to pay the duties, and he was flat out of money. Wow. So I pulled out my credit cards, and I was fresh out of school, had a ton of debt, 3 young kids, and I actually asked my wife, and I said, Christine, Raj needs...
Good move. Good move.
She's still my wife, by the way. 20th anniversary coming up in about 5 months here. But yeah, so I say, Christine, look, this guy, he's a little bit crazy, but this liquid is incredible. I believe in him. I believe in the story. And I'm going to take a chance. I didn't say, is it okay? But I told her about it.
Was this the Whistle Pig project?
This was Whistle Pig. This was the first shipment of Whistle Pig.
So this first shipment of Whistle Pig.
So Whistle Pig
stuck
wouldn't
at
have happened
the line.
Yeah.
My God.
If my credit limit hadn't been $20,000, Whistle Pig probably never would have happened.
Wow.
So that goes on my credit card. Raj pays me back. Fast forward a few years. Company's growing fast. At that point, it had about a dozen employees distributed in 15 states, doing about $1 million a year in revenue, peanuts compared to what it does now. Single SKU. All they had at that point was the 10-year-old, and I think they had released the 111, which was a limited release, 11-year-old, 111. It was like the proto Boss Hog. So anyway, Raj calls me up and he says, Leo, I need somebody to help me build this thing out. You want to move to the middle of nowhere in Vermont? And I'm like, sure.
Okay, 3 kids.
Yeah, same sort of story though. Nah, you paid me back at that point. But to me, it's like you get to that crossroads in your life, and I could have sat in my office looking out at the Ambassador Bridge and the Detroit River and kept doing litigation and workouts for the next 30 or 40 years, and I would have liked it. And like I said, I think I was pretty good at it. And, but, once in a while, these opportunities come up to do something totally different, to rewrite the script, to make an adventure out of your life. And that was the opportunity that was offered to me. And so I took a chance. I said, yeah, I'm going to leave my partnership and let's move to Vermont and see what happens.
Wow. And success. Whistle Pig was Whistle Pig. It's one of those brands. It's one of the crowning kind of brands. It is. There's some prestige with the Whistle Pig. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I deserve very little of the credit. I was right place, right time.
Yeah.
I like to think I helped. But you look at the fact that Raj had the vision, the insight, the intuition to identify all of these streams that were coming to play in spirits 10 or 15 years ago. I'd be really curious, Jamie and Matt and Augie, to hear like how you guys got into spirits. But for me, like I said, it started with Johnny Walker Black back in college, and then I got talking to Raj when he started getting into spirits, and he's like, "Oh, our former master distiller Dave Pickerel, you can't buy Whistle Pig." But he was the master distiller at Maker's Mark. And Maker's was, they revolutionized bourbon.
Yeah.
American whiskey, until that time, bourbon was thought of as bottom shelf, rot gut, hillbilly whiskey. If you wanted something luxury, high-end, exclusive, exquisitely made.
Bourbon wasn't part of the conversation. Yeah.
Right around here.
Single malts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you went. But Dave and Bill Samuels at Maker's Mark had a vision that we can make a bourbon whiskey, a corn-based whiskey that's every bit as good as anything else in the world. And when Dave left Maker's Mark, he met up with Raj, and they said, you know what, we can do the same thing with rye. And rye is every bit as good, if not better, than bourbon in the sense that with that rye base, you get that spice, that herbal note, that explosion of flavor. Look, don't get me wrong. you guys are about to enjoy an amazing bourbon here. You can make some phenomenal bourbons, but to us, spirits has always been about balance. But I'm digressing.
All right.
To me, like, I got into spirit because I got, this, I guess the angel sat on my shoulder and said, come to Vermont. And that was the beginning of my journey about a decade.
You had two choices: do it or don't.
Yeah,
Right?
you did it.
And you did it.
That's right. And I did it. And that's probably been the course of my life since about 2013 now.
Okay.
So how did you guys get into spirits? Like, what was the beginning of your journey? I mean, how...
I blame Jamie, actually.
He wasn't allowed to do
Mine was my
friend.
friendship with Brett and Eric Coonan, who I met many years ago. I dated one of their first waitresses there.
Okay.
And then that got me into the craft beer, which then went into the craft spirits. Oh, try this, this stuff. And so that's where my, go for that other bottle on the shelf instead of the tequila with the sombrero started.
Stay away from that one.
Yeah, well, I learned that in college. Yeah, I wasn't drinking Johnny Walker Black. I was, I was a little cheaper, but that's really what got my appreciation for the spirits and what you can do with them, and the differences between the ryes and the bourbons and the Canadians and the Irish and the Scotch and all that. It all came from learning it first through beer snobbery, basically.
Yeah.
So mine takes me to Ireland with just a fascination with Guinness and enjoying Guinness immensely, and the tour of the Guinness factory. And then I really lamented I didn't hit any of the whiskey distilleries while I was there. And so I was looking up, and I drank Jameson's pretty regular. And then I was like looking at the virtual tours because I was like, oh, what did I miss? And I just, the process was very interesting to me. And then I started getting into the American whiskeys and the bourbons. And that's what led me down to it. And then that's why we started the podcast, because we don't know. Matt and I was like, I want to learn. So I talked to the people who are the entrepreneurs and the innovators and the people who enjoy it and curate it for people to learn from you, what the questions that I should ask. So that's what brought me into it, and that's what started the podcast.
See, I was that toddler that would walk up to my granddad and say, can I have a sip of his Budweiser? So he would, actually.
Which journey are we talking about? Your alcoholism journey or your actual craft spirit appreciation journey?
No, it's just, the word responsible comes to mind, because what you guys do, there's a sense of responsibility. Us as consumers, we don't know what we don't know, but if we understand what we're drinking, we're come to appreciate it, and that makes us more responsible as a consumer of these fine liquids.
Absolutely, Matt. That's a terrific point.
Right.
On two fronts. One, I remember my poor grandfather. My parents were wine drinkers, not spirits drinkers. They kept a bottle of Southern Comfort in, which gradually my brother and I, we would replace it with water as the spirit went down until eventually it was basically translucent. So I think I've got a similar experience there. But on the other front, in terms of appreciation, this isn't just ethanol. If you just want something that's 50% by alcohol by volume that's going to get you screwed up, go buy a bottle of Smirnoff.
Right.
This is history. This is a story. This is passion. This is agriculture. There are people behind this brand. There are people behind those brands on the shelves where they've been dead for 200 years, whether it's
absolutely, yeah.
whether it's Hennessy or Macallan. The beauty of our brand compared to some of the other brands is we're not dead.
Yeah.
We're still here.
Right.
And like Doug did, if you want to come see us at the college campus we bought in Vermont, or at the farm down the road where we're planting our own vines and growing, you can come see us.
Yeah.
It's like St. Thomas. You can poke your finger in the side, so to speak. Right?
The term "leaving a legacy" comes to mind, because that's what everyone's really after. Is, what's next? What am I going to leave for my kids, or what's going to happen when I'm not here? Who's going to take care of my brand and my passion after I leave this world? Right?
Well, that's what Doug said. He said he was hooked on the story. And then the spirits were amazing, and that's what we love about the show. Is like, so we just don't give us a pour, let's drink. I want to know you guys a little bit. So that's kind of what we do here. So Bhakta, how long has this been a brand?
So that's a great question too, and it ties back to Matt's question of legacy, right? So Raj left Whistle Pig about 3 or 4 years ago, ended up selling the company to the Wall Street guys, and time to start something new. But what are you going to do that's really going to get you fired up after you've built
Whistle
basically
pig, yeah.
whistle pig.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember walking with him on the beach. You know, he had moved down to Vero Beach in Florida, Indian River County. We're walking along, and he's like, "Man, how do I get myself fired up about this again? You know, I've already gone out. I found this amazing stock of old rye. I bought this farm in the middle of nowhere in Vermont. I built the grain to glass distillery. You know, I built this incredible brand. I've brought these incredible products. It wasn't all us, by the way, but we kind of rebuilt a category. Mm-hmm. Rye was forgotten. It was overlooked. It had been left in the dustbin when, from a quality of spirit standpoint, you could make something that was as good, if not better, than anything else in the world. And what's your next act? How do you follow on something like that? And so Raj is like, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to put my name on it. Because that's the only way, that's the legacy for the kids and the grandkids.
Fair.
But, this spirit that we found that formed the basis of the next venture, this is a project that stretches not just back through the decades or the generations, it stretches back through the centuries. That's the Armagnac story. And that's what really got us fired up, because Raj and I, back in our college days, we were both history nerds. We loaded up on as many history classes as we could, and we wanted to learn as much as we could about these obscure facts of the past and these incredible characters and all these details. And it's like, well, like brown spirits is great, by the way, like whiskey, you can get a 16 to 20, 21-year-old brown spirit. Awesome. Mm-hmm. That is reaching back into the past when something that's sat in the cask that long. But how about getting your hands on something that dates back to 1868?
Wow. Yeah.
3 years after the Civil War ended.
Right.
When France wasn't even a republic. France was ruled by an emperor, a guy by the name of Louis Napoleon, who was the nephew of Bonaparte.
Okay.
There's like a movie about him coming out, right?
Short story.
Short story. Britain ruled half the world. The lady named Queen Victoria. Yeah. This stuff, these grapes were being pulled off the vine, crushed into juice, fermented into wine, distilled, and put in a barrel a century and a half ago, when not just before the airplane had been invented or the car had been invented or the light bulb, but like before any of the modern world had even begun to come into formulation. And this, to us, it's time in a bottle. You can't buy time, but with Bhakta you can, and it's history in a bottle. And for us, the beauty of it is Armagnac was an undiscovered category. And it is in an undiscovered category to this day. Most people don't know about it. We had the good fortune, and again, this is a legacy of the Whistle Pig days. Our master distiller, Dave Pickerel, his favorite spirit in the world, as much as he loved bourbon and as much as he loved rye, as much as he loved a lot of other categories, he's like, Armagnac is where it's at. Because this was the first place in Europe where they distilled. It's incredibly small-scale production. Most of the grapes are grown, and the fermentation and the distillation is done by farmers working 20 or 30-acre plots. It's incredibly deep age statements. There's no big multinational spirits companies that are pushing this stuff into the market. Accidents of history and geography. Mm-hmm. Armagnac is landlocked. It's up the Garonne River from Bordeaux to a point where you can no longer get the stuff up to sea. So it's just been aging and aging, getting older and older and older, and better and better and better through all these decades. And none of these people speak English. So they don't have the ability to come over here to go on to podcasts, to go into bars, and say, hey, you guys are missing the greatest stuff in the world. And so for us, because we had that knowledge of the category, because the Boss Hog 4, the Black Prince, the first Boss Hog that was cask finished, was done in an Armagnac cask.
Okay.
So I remember going, back when I was working on the farm in the middle of nowhere in Vermont, more cows than people in the county, one late night, me and a bunch of the guys from the back office decide to, wander back and see what this Armagnac stuff's all about. Because usually when you get a finishing cask, there's a little bit of liquid in the bottom before you load your whiskey in or whatever you're going to finish in it. So we go in with a wine thief, we pull it out, we taste it, and like the choirs of the heavenly host were heard on high.
Your eyes watered a little too, but
that too. But we knew that I knew
something different.
This stuff was incredible. It was different. The depth, the nuance, the complexity, the length of finish, the fruit notes, the earth notes, the spice notes, tobacco, just all layered
Like
together.
4 days later after you tried it, right?
Yeah, no, it just keeps going, man. I'm telling you, no, that's not too far off from the truth. So anyway, I'm like, okay, and this was back in 2016 that we did the Black Prince, so this was probably 5 years before we did this project. I was like, someday we're going to do something with this Armagnac.
So what is Bhakta? And what, because are there 4 different expressions here that we have in front of us?
Yep.
All right, so what is it?
So Bhakta is Raj Peter Bhakta. That's his last name.
Okay.
So he's got a great story too. So, by the way, if anybody thinks it's a little weird to have an Indian name like Bhakta attached to a French brandy, Mr. Flanagan, you probably know the origins of the name Hennessy, right?
No, I don't actually.
We never had them on.
No,
As you can tell, guys, I'm not here for the serious
I
questions.
got a
role here.
Wikipedia that crap.
Yeah, it's an Irish name.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah, so in a cognac house like Hardy, what happened? Bordeaux. You think of Bordeaux wines like Lynch Boggs. Lynch is not a French name.
No.
Hardy's not a French name.
Yeah.
Hennessy's not a French name.
No.
Phelan, Chateau Phelan, not a French name. For centuries now, folks have been coming from all over the world, mainly from the English-speaking world, Britain and Ireland, to southwest France to bring these incredible wines and spirits to the rest of the world. They didn't get to Armagnac because it was a little bit too far inland. But anyway, Raj's story, his dad is a first-generation immigrant from India, showed up with $20 in his pocket in the early 1970s.
Nice.
You know, married a first-generation Irish immigrant, his mother, Mulaney, and they had 4 kids. Raj was one of them. And Raj started Whistle Pig and decided he wanted his name on this thing. What we are as a brand, though, the first project was Armagnac.
Okay.
So after the sale of Whistle Pig, Raj basically traveled around the world looking for something like rye, what rye was 12 or 13 years ago.
Right.
12 or 13 years ago, you walked into a liquor store or a bar, you probably wouldn't find a rye except for, you know, maybe a Crown Royal, which is barely a rye. You know, it's great neutral spirit.
Around here, it's the Canadian whiskey was the closest thing to a rye. You could smell. They call it Detroit River whiskey because you'd smell the Canadian Club across the river.
Absolutely, from Walkerville. And actually, they make some good whiskey in Walkerville. Sure. But the problem is, a lot of what the good whiskey that they make, they do it in a pot still. They do it using good grains. They age it in really young, lively barrels. But they don't, at least until recently, they've changed this now, they don't bottle as a single expression. They use that as the flavoring component of sort of your, let's say, middle tier to be generous Canadian whiskeys.
So it's no Redbreast.
No, it's not. It isn't.
You said they do it in a pot still. Redbreast does theirs in a pot still.
That's right.
As well, yeah.
So was the first Bhakta project a brandy?
It was Armagnac.
Okay.
So what we started with, and we'll get to this at the end of the night, the first thing that we released and the first product that we had in market for about a year, just in very limited distribution, a lot of it was just hand selling to collectors, to be honest with you, was this Bhakta 50. And this was a brandy. We couldn't call it Armagnac because what we ended up doing was a cask finish on it. And to call it Armagnac to meet the requirements of the AOC, it has to be exclusively aged in French wood.
Okay.
With this stuff, what we did is we took 8 different vintages, minimum of 50 years of age on the spirit.
Jeez.
Wow.
So 50 years at the youngest, 1970 spirit at its youngest.
Yeah.
The oldest stuff in this blend, in every bottle of the 38 barrels of Bhakta 50, each of it, and it's not a lot, I won't piss on your leg and tell you it's raining, but each of it has a component of 1868 spirit in it.
Nice.
Wow.
So you will get a chance tonight, before it's all said and done, to taste something that was distilled in the time of Louis Napoleon and Queen Victoria, the time of your great-great-grandparents, perhaps.
See, my house was built in 1831.
There you go.
So
So you
it's
haven't
like,
found that bottle yet?
I'm not looking. tucked in the
Start checking the walls on the next remodel, buddy.
some kind of housewarming gift.
What do we have in front of us now?
Yeah.
So we're starting with the bourbon.
Okay.
So this is a 99% corn, 9.5 years old, finished in Armagnac cask. Paul Picault, who's kind of like the Robert Parker of spirits, if you're a wine nerd like I am, he just released his ratings for 2023. We were the only producer with 2 products in the top 20. What you're tasting right now, this 2013 bourbon, 97 points in the number 18 Spirit of the Year of all the thousands that he reviewed. And a little bit later, we'll get into our 1973 Armagnac, which was a little bit higher up the list. But this is pretty good stuff.
I just can't stop nosing it. It's just there's
a lot, right?
It smells so good on the nose. There's a lot going on, and okay, I'm gonna dive in. So I'm gonna
Go get it, man. Yeah, it's I hit it already.
The first one I hit, it kicked me right in the back of my face, and then the second sip was like, all right, there it all is.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what I was getting into, but that first one was like, whoa.
Right now, I'm getting like tons of hazelnut and toffee on the nose.
Yeah, there's definitely not. Okay, I don't.
I was getting a
Once my
like
face
a
adjusted.
plum or a purple fruit of some sort.
The first one I was.
No, that's there too. Little allspice.
The nut is definitely
Nutmeg,
Yep.
But it's not overpowering. It's not like that nauseating nutmeg that you get sometimes where it's just like too much. There's caramel there, but it's not too much either. And you know what we've done with a 99% corn whiskey, with 99% corn bourbon, you're gonna expect something that's gonna be super sweet, treacly, but that Armagnac cask finish just brings a tannic structure, a dryness, a balance to it.
There's a sweetness on the back end because it sat in the back of my throat on my palate a little bit. The warmth that just is hanging out that back there, it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
It really, really is. That's beautiful.
No, you could chew on this all day.
Yeah.
So
it's a big bourbon too. It's
big.
It's cask strength, right? So it's
that
that
50
that
Yeah, what's that
first
coming in
nose
at?
is
50.3.
all right.
50.3, yeah.
Yeah. It's a
All
big
right.
bourbon. It's something.
but
that you
it's but that I agree with that second sip that you get
Yeah, that's the better.
after you've kind of had the
let
palate.
it go
Cleans
around.
it out, yeah.
It's you get more of the nose, more of the flavor that you hit on the nose, right? All those things start to make sense in your brain.
But that, Doug, that's another theory that we have just in terms of proofing in general. I think you'll find with a lot of whiskeys and then again in Armagnac, really across spirits categories, a lot of stuff is brought down to 80 or 90.
Right.
And
right.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
But
no.
we're saying do it yourself. You know, if you want your spirit,
Yeah, put your own ice cube in there.
Right.
yeah, put your own ice cube in, throw a little water in, but we want you to have it, at least have the opportunity, frankly, to have it like this.
Right.
You know, full strength, full proof, in your face, with all that intensity and character that you can bring to bear.
My mouth is numb.
We've had other high-end bourbons that we've talked to, and I'm always happy when someone says, you're like, well, what's the right way to drink it? And they're like, however you enjoy
want
it.
Yep. Exactly.
That's the way to drink it. That's how we want you to enjoy it. However you enjoy it, drink it that way. There's no...
Now, if you want to add Coke to it, that might be a bit over the edge.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe every once in a while a splash of ginger ale. That'd be as much as I get with mixing, but yeah.
But, you know, to get back to your question, Jamie, in terms of like Armagnac, what got us so fired up about it, it was just how craft it was, how old it was, you know, how undiscovered it was, you know, how passionate the producers were, how beautiful the region was, Gascony, you know, just the terroir of the place, the landscape, the food culture, the people. I mean, a lot of Americans have a bad image of what France is based on hitting the tourist spots in Paris.
Sure.
That's not what Gascony is. They're open, they're welcoming, they're warm, you know, they're happy to see you. And they make this incredible spirit that's goes back through the years. And I mean, the other amazing thing for us about this is history nerds, this is the one place in spirits, and we're looking to change that, by the way, with things like this 2013 bourbon and this 1990 rum. But most brown spirits, it's about the age statement. How long has it sat in an oak cask?
Right.
Has it been 6, 8, 10, 12, 21 years? For us, that's good information to have. But how about telling me what year it was made?
Yeah.
Because then you're actually reaching back into the past.
Yeah.
Then when you're having this Bhakta 50 with vintages from 1970 to 1868, you can think about Richard Nixon. You can think about the Apollo mission.
Right.
You can think about Vietnam.
Just close your eyes. Think about the Queen. Oh no, wait, that's different. That's I don't know what that is. Sorry, I'm 12. I'm 12.
It's his reign of honor.
Yes.
And to us, that's like
Thank you, Mr. Croce. Yes.
no, and so we've got that with the Bhakta 50, and then the single vintage Armagnacs like the 1973. We're about to, for if you have a birth year, if you have an anniversary, this is the one category in beverage alcohol where we can get you something at a relatively reasonable price that is going to be one of the most exquisite alcoholic beverages in the world at a relatively accessible price point, where, by the way, unlike a 1973 wine where there's probably a 1 chance in 3 that it's turned into vinegar.
It tastes like Band-Aids.
Right.
This stuff's still going to be good.
Right.
It's not just going to be good, it's going to be outstanding.
Did you say it tastes like Band-Aids?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard.
Well, that comes from craft beer spoiling. If you get a bad, an infected bottle of a craft beer that someone sat on for a while, you open it up and it tastes like Band-Aids.
Now that I've done a couple of sips and it's rested a little bit, and I'm going back to the nose, it's smelling more like a bourbon now. Before, the first few noses were not very. I would be hard in a blind. What is this? I would not. The first thing would have been a bourbon.
Yeah, the Armagnac hits you
And
pretty hard.
you said it's 99% corn.
Yep.
And I'm not getting corny on this because a little corny. No, I'm not, because a lot of times you get a corn, like the heavy corn, something 70, 80 and up. It's very corny on the nose, and this is not. It still isn't. It's bourbony on the nose now, but not corny.
Well, Jamie, that's what we found with that Boss Hog 4 too.
Yeah.
When you put that rye whiskey in with the Armagnac, I mean, Whistle Pig had a lot of highly rated products up until that point, but it was the Boss Hog 4 that really pushed us into the stratosphere. That we sent off to the San Francisco World Wine and Spirits Competition, one of the most prestigious, and it didn't just win Best Rye, it didn't just win Best Whiskey, it won Best Spirit in the whole damn show. Wow. And I think the Armagnac cask finish had a lot to do with it, because there is something about Armagnac. It's a different spirit. It's done at incredibly small scale. It's craft. Unlike Cognac, which is a neighboring province, it's single distilled. It's not double distilled like Cognac. So a lot of those rough edges are left in the early days, but they age them out. And Armagnac won't come into its own until it's 10, 15, 20 years old.
Okay.
Most spirits companies don't have that patience. They're focused on the bottom line and turn, and they want to get that stuff out of the warehouse, into the bottle, into their consumers.
Because they're paying taxes on it as it sits there, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, those rough edges turn into these beautiful, exquisite complexities
Right.
as they soften over the years. That's what really hit me.
Yeah. And so single distillation, the fact that in Armagnac, they're able to use 10 different grapes as opposed to Cognac. Uni Blanc makes up 99% of the production. It's almost a monoculture. The producers have a much broader palette of flavors to draw from. They use really good wood to age the stuff in. So, and it's done at small scale. The way these people have been doing it, their families have been doing it for hundreds of years. We were just very fortunate. We took a trip to France. Raj's wife had just announced she was pregnant with her 4th child.
Designated driver.
Yeah.
Chased Raj out of the house with a broom. Things are better now, but it was a tense moment. I had just landed in Lyon, France. It was the day France won the World Cup, probably.
Oh, perfect day to travel. Yeah.
It was, honest to God, it was incredible. Just to be a part of that energy.
Yeah.
Like everybody was just so happy, so cheerful. Hundreds of thousands of people marching through the streets of Lyon, singing the Marseillaise. It was like, wow, this is like, you can see why these Europeans get into the World Cup, frankly.
Yeah.
It takes the Super Bowl and kind of puts it to shame.
It's their Super Bowl, but that much more. That much more.
Right. Yeah, so that was an incredible experience. So he picks me up. We drive to the Armagnac region. We have the good fortune to get an introduction to a lady by the name of Amanda Garnham, who is the head of public relations for the Armagnac Bureau. Amanda knew all of the producers in the region, and she knew who had stuff for sale. And she said, you need to meet Jacques-Francois Riis du Perron. And so Raj had his Cadillac Escalade shipped across from Vero Beach, Florida, to Le Havre in France.
You can't afford a rental, so that's what.
It's probably the only Escalade. This thing wouldn't even fit down this street. So he rolls into this French quasi-aristocrat's mansion's courtyard, the chateau's courtyard, with Be Our Guest from, what's that Disney movie?
Oh, Beauty and the
Beast.
Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, yeah.
We all knew that too quickly.
Be our guest. He's got that cranking. And this guy is standing there on the steps of his mansion like, looking at Raj like, who in the hell is this guy?
What just
And
happened?
so I'm like,
here?
Raj, please turn it down. Please turn it down. And Raj is like, nope, turning it up. So that's Raj. So we roll into the courtyard with the Escalade. We're seated at this guy's table in his reception hall or whatever. And Raj, if you want to buy this guy's old spirits, these vintages dating back to 1868, you've got to buy the Chateau too.
And this case of Fireball.
Yeah.
Take my daughter.
You know,
take my daughter. No one will marry her.
Your women, how much for your blues?
No. So that's how that works.
So anyway, we roll in, and Raj decides to
Wrong
take the
glass,
tour of the
sir.
chateau, and I have to do the sampling.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here at this like magnificent oak table with this guy's coat of arms above this magnificent brick fireplace in this chateau in the middle of the Armagnac region of France, steps away from the cathedral. This giant mansion with these beautiful aging. And I'm a kid from Sterling Heights who grew up a mile and a half from the Chrysler plant. And then this guy's servants come out with these silver trays with Armagnac vintages dating back to 1868. And it's my job to decide if we should buy this stuff.
Would you say you had an experience not just with the Armagnac, but everything that went along with it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it was
do you not,
incredible. It
right?
blew my mind.
Yeah.
I think you look at these ratings that the 1973 got 99 points, number one spirit in the world, Paul Pacult. You look at the bourbon you guys just tasted, 97 points, number 18 rated spirit. The spirit is really, 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 truly outstanding. Mm-hmm. But you layer in the fact that you've got these experiences that go along with it. And it's not just me sitting in a chateau.
Do these come with a little flash drive of your audio of this whole story? They should come with one. It should come, especially in the high-end one, because that would really help sell it, because it's just too fascinating. It really is. It's freaking fascinating.
Look, Doug can tell the story better than I can the next piece. So we buy this stuff. We leave half of it in France. We've still got the chateau up and running. That's
so you bought the chateau, right?
We bought the chateau.
All right, just want to make sure.
We're going to be bringing a number of... Doug, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it, but we've got a trip going this fall. Wow. We've already done one with some of our collectors where they come out during La Flamme when they fire up the stills and get this stuff going. And by the way, a lot of the distillation in Armagnac, it's not done in a factory. The still is some guy, your neighbor who lives a half mile down the road, who's got a tractor and has got this thing on wheels in his shed, which is a still. And when the grapes have been crushed and fermented into wine, Pierre calls up Jacques and says it's time to distill. And he'll hitch the thing up to the tractor, drag it out.
He Green Acres
through
that
the
thing
fields,
right over.
Fire it up. They'll bring some food. They'll get some wine. They'll bring some
that's what I
Armagnac.
got.
Yeah, they'll have a party. They'll bring a band and you get this outdoor distillation party.
Wow.
But anyway, Doug, this isn't where it stops. This is the crazy thing because, I don't know, Raj thinks big, which is why I love him and why I made the jump, from Michigan to move out to Vermont. But he had the Whistle Pig Farm that went with the company when we sold it to Wall Street. But he had another 700 acres down the road. We bought another 500 acres on the banks of Lake Champlain where we've got apples growing so we can do an apple brandy. Then we've got 900 acres down in Vero Beach where we're growing sugarcane for a future rum release. We'll get into our rum in a minute. But as if that weren't enough, and dear Lord, now that I talk about it and think of what my life's become and how much hair I had 3 years ago and how much I have now.
Same.
Yeah, it's like, what was I thinking? But I saw it in the newspaper that the campus of Green Mountain College in Pulteney, Vermont was up for sale. Doug, you've been there. Idyllic place, 150 acres, 500,000 square feet. College closed, falling enrollment, rising costs. And I didn't want to tell Raj this was for sale. But I was like, if this thing sells and Raj finds out I knew about it and I didn't tell him, he's going to kill me. So I was like, I got to tell him. So I told Raj. We end up going to the auction. We buy a college campus. Blue ribbon trout stream running through the back of it. We've got our still in there now. We're doing aging there. We've got hospitality there. But Doug, I've talked enough. Why don't you tell them a little bit about
Are you doing
campus?
classes there?
We're getting there. We actually are getting there.
That's
the dream.
excellent.
It was.
So, Doug, you've visited this and you've toured this?
I have, and so it was interesting too because I talked to my friend PJ, who I talked about earlier, who made the first introduction to Leo and Raj, back in the beginning. And so I did that. We had the tasting here. I was getting to know Leo, getting to know the brand, and everything that I saw and tasted, I loved, right?
Yeah.
And so then we get this invitation to come out to Vermont, and all I know is that it's this old college campus that they bought, and so your head starts to spin, right? Like,
You bought
okay,
a college
so
campus?
they
This
bought
is
a
like
college
this is a
campus,
2000s
and we're
movie, isn't
going
it?
It's
there
very
to hang
Vermont-y,
out
though,
for
isn't
the
it?
weekend.
Very Vermont-y story.
And we
is.
may go sledding, or we may not go sledding. Like there was, like your mind. So I brought my wife, and we brought our manager Lisa, and my partner Chris, and his wife, and so we all get, and Nate, our head bartender.
This is the best
thank you.
remake of White Christmas ever. All
And
right.
so we all load up. We get on the flight. We get in the car. We get there late at night, and because the flight was delayed, we had some issues and whatnot. So anyway, we get there late at night. It's dark, and we meet. We meet the people there, and the first guy we met, besides JP, was the town priest.
Okay.
Father Stephen, because
The campus
we
ministry.
met JP, and he, the host there, he was a great, fantastic guy. I mean, JP would tell stories about for a year and a half anyway, but that's a different story. But so we go to this their converted cafeteria for the campus, and
Okay.
they turned it into like a little speakeasy downstairs and a lounge upstairs with a pool table and a cocktail area. It's
like a giant
super
treehouse.
cool, right? And again, the very first guy I meet is Father Stevens, and he's drinking a sidecar, and I'm like, well, this is really cool. I can go with this. And so we ended up having some cocktails, sharing more stories, and just the weekend just kept getting more incredible. And then we went into the library, which is where they house all the casks. And so we're literally walking around the library, and they have all these casks spread out throughout the library. And which is really cool too about the college campus. When they left, they left everything.
Yeah.
So the books,
Beakers
the
and
chemistry
Bunsen
lab,
burners?
the beakers,
I'm in.
everything. So the
Chemistry
we're not.
lab is our blending lab.
it is.
We're not
And so the library, the library is filled with books, right? Incredible books. And they've got all these casks intermixed, and so we're walking around this wine thief, and he's like, "Hey, you want to taste the 19 whatever? It's 62, it's 82, 42, whatever."
Right.
And we're just thieving out of these casks, and my mind's exploding, and my palate's exploding, and it's one of those weekends where again for me it kind of pulled it all together. Like, oh, this is the real thing.
Yeah.
Like these guys are doing something incredible, something different, right, than everybody else in the world right now.
Wow.
Man.
Sounds like a great experience.
It
That's-
literally was. And then the best part of that experience was when we did our own blend.
Okay. Yeah, there it is. Yep.
We did a bonbon. We used their 10-year-old bourbon as their base, and then 60% of their 10-year bourbon, and the other 40% were the different single-year vintages of the Armagnacs.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And so, which was great for two reasons. One, to get to taste all those different vintages of the Armagnacs, right? To know what the nose is and the taste and the profile is of each. So we're tasting it, making notes, and then we'd add some to a beaker. We add a little bit more to the beaker, and then we'd, stir it all up. We taste that. Okay, let's change this a little bit. We had a big whiteboard behind us. But in that
It was absolute science at that point. Yeah.
We had a big
In a
whiteboard
former
behind us.
science lab.
And even what blew me away too was when we were playing around with some of the percentages.
Okay.
Some of the vintages were finished in these Islay casks, and so you get that smoke flavor, right? That you get that really heavy nose, and I wanted a little bit of that, but not too much, because it's a bourbon base, so I wanted to keep that theme. But playing around with those in a 1% to 2% difference makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible.
Yeah, the molecule,
that experience, that blending was like nothing I've ever done before. Just incredible.
That's awesome. Man, I'm a little, paint me jealous a little bit over here for that, you know?
Come see this.
Yeah, it's
We'll make a trip out of it.
I got family in Burlington. I can come down.
Come see us.
I'll ski. That's fine. I'll ski every day.
45 minutes from Killington, it is God's country. It's absolutely beautiful. The outdoor recreation opportunities, the spirit. I think the hospitality program that we put together, we've renovated some of the dormitories so that people can be comfortable.
Sure.
I won't say it's 5-star luxurious, but you're going to be treated right.
You're going to sleep well.
and All right, so this is rum, Jamaican rum.
This is Jamaican rum. And so this is a blend of actually 2 different Jamaican rums.
Okay.
This is 1990 on the label.
Sure.
But it's actually got 1990 is the youngest.
Sure.
Youngest. 1985.
All right.
And so this stuff.
I thought I smelled Polly Shore.
How many,
Little Polly Shore in there.
A little Polly Shore. E5.
oh, yeah. No, this stuff. I just.
What you taste, buddy?
So I'm not smelling rum though.
bourbon.
I'm not. Yeah.
Bourbon.
It does.
I'm not getting a.
No, it's delicious, but it's also I
The-
grabbed the label and I'm looking. I'm like, that's some strong stuff.
Well, it's at 62%, right?
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That'll put hair in your hair.
Yeah.
as they say.
124 proof rum.
Okay.
It's almost creamy at the end.
It does not taste like 124 proof anything though.
Yeah.
It does not come off there's no burn that you'd get. It doesn't taste like that at all.
Warmth.
No, it's lovely.
Yeah, so this is our latest release. And
Wow.
God, the legs on it.
very
Creamy.
deeply
I know,
aged.
right?
It's, and I think rum's due for its time. Rum, are you guys mostly whiskey, or are you into rums at all?
We'll try anything, but for the man
Yeah, we ventured down
everywhere.
rum once.
really
We did
will.
rum once. We've
We
done
did rum.
vodka. We've done tequilas. We've done wines, ciders, meads. But rum once, only once.
Rum once.
I hate
Twice.
to say
No.
it, because for us it's almost become a cliche, but for us it's the blank category for the whiskey drinker.
Rum seems to struggle as a spirit. People, it tries, rum's going to be the next thing, and then something else usurps it.
Only when they went with a bazillion flavors, like dragon fruit rum and passion fruit rum, and they thought that was going to be the next
Right,
flavor
like
of
all the
everything.
vodka flavors were
Yeah, but I feel like the
successful.
Mount Gays of the world have always stuck around and been popular. The Pussers, the Pirate, those have all been held their own.
In Florida County, you can get some great aged rum too.
Yeah.
Diplomatico, it's hard to find, and there's a lot of chaff in the field, but if you can find the really good stuff, a well-made rum can be as exquisite as anything in the world. What I particularly like, we're drinking Jamaican rum right now, which is made from molasses, but I don't know if you guys have had a chance to dive into some of the rum agricoles. The style that they make in the French islands, where as opposed to making it from molasses, they make it from fresh pressed cane juice.
Oh, okay.
They basically press the sugar cane, they extract that sugary water. That's what they ferment. They don't boil it into molasses first. And so you do get those tremendous floral, spicy notes. It's a lot like rye whiskey. With this stuff, you get the whiskey-like flavor profile because these were aged for a long time in early use ex-bourbon barrels, like first dump, basically. And so...
In which barrels?
Bourbon.
Okay, in bourbon barrels. Okay.
So this has spent a lot of time in bourbon barrels, but finished in an Armagnac cask.
Okay, and then
again.
finished. All right.
So that's sort of like the magic touch, I think, here
Sure.
again, too, to give it a little bit of that dryness, a little bit of that structure, some of those tannins that balance out for what I think a lot of whiskey drinkers can sometimes be a little bit too sweet, even with like a deeply aged rum. If you guys had cigars, this would be the time to light it up.
So I'm just something.
What type of cigar would that look like then?
You know what? Raj should be here because I don't do it often, and when I do it, it's like I like these little what do they call it?
Short stories?
Swisher Sweets.
I've upgraded from there. That might have been my high school days.
Yeah.
Well, if you were to dip one of those in this 124 proof rum, it would go up pretty
In
quick.
any event, Raj and I had the good fortune to be down in Dominican Republic not too long ago, and we were invited to visit the Fuente factory.
Nice.
And so we didn't just see the factory where they assemble the boxes, they cure the tobacco. We got to go out to the plantation, and then we were sitting there, and Carlito, who is running the company now, Arturo's grandson, and they have an amazing family story. They were an American family, and they started rolling cigars in Tampa Bay, Florida. They had a factory fire, relocated to Cuba in like 1955, 2 or 3 years before the revolution.
Before I went to shit.
Yeah, had that factory seized. And then they relocated to Nicaragua,
Right.
where again their factory was seized by the communists.
Oh, my goodness.
And so then they had to flee again to the Dominican Republic, which is their main base of operations now. But Carlito, he loves cigars. He loves these old spirits. I think Armagnac goes great with this cigar as well. I want to say, what's that stuff? They come in a little tin. It's like called
Altoids, the mints.
the curiously strong peppermints, right? No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No.
I'm drawing a blank.
One of my jokes.
But what do you guys like with spirits? From a cigar
we
stand.
love to have a cigar with a spirit.
Yeah.
We just don't know what the proper way to pair is.
I usually go on a lighter cigar. I usually go a little bit more mild, just so it's not overpowering. Because a really powerful cigar is going to just
Right.
overpower
Light
everything.
powder,
For me,
yeah.
for me.
A friend of the show, he loves having a dessert drink with a chocolate type of cigar. So he'll mix dessert with dessert. But when it comes to bourbon and what type of wrapper should you have with this type
Yeah.
of bourbon, that's where we get a little lost. So we're always looking for folks to help us in that regard too.
To me, it's hard to say. I can't guide you there because I like a light cigar on the rare occasions I like a cigar to begin with. Because to your point, Jamie, I think if you were to get something too robust with too dark of a wrapper, I think that's all you're tasting, isn't it?
I'm loving the sugar in this. I'm a little bit of a girl drink drunk. Throw an umbrella in it, and
Tiki night.
It is. It is. I'm happy with it. So
Demerara,
I enjoy
yeah.
it. But and again, the bourbons and the whiskeys have moved me away from that and a bit more. But I still enjoy it, and so I'm enjoying this because there is a sweetness.
There is.
Sugary molasses. There's
No,
a
it's-
creamy.
I
there's a
absolutely love
creamy.
it. I think it's fascinating.
Hang
the
on, it's like a
flavors.
creamy bourbon. It's a
Yeah.
creamy sweet. Not. I don't want to oversell the sweetness of it, but there's a
It's not quite an aperitif, but it's an aperitif.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Right?
not cloying. But to your point, when you were talking, I just noticed it. I was literally licking my lips.
Yeah.
Because there is like that sugar coating around it almost.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I was the kid that picked the raisins out of the box of Raisin Bran. For that
the sugar.
that sugar.
Yeah, so I don't do cigars. I don't smoke at all.
Yeah.
So I would pair this with a fine kettle potato chip.
Hey,
Basically, and some
whatever.
cheese. That's how like you said, enjoy it how you enjoy it, and
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
So I don't do the cigar
fat
stuff.
and salt and alcohol. There's a science to it. But
There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with
try
that.
taking, to your point, try taking a sip of the rum especially, and then just take your tongue
Yeah.
and kind of push it up on the roof of your mouth, and then on
numb
on the front of your lips,
Yeah.
and it'll enhance that kind of sugary
That's-
flavor a little bit.
That's a good call.
But
Doug.
it kind of makes it linger a little bit. It gives you a little bit more of it on the back end.
wow.
Yeah, it does. Wow.
That's amazing.
My partner person will love me when I get home.
Like there's a viscosity to
There
it too,
is,
which
right.
is super
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
It lingers there. It just gives you a
I like
little bit
that.
of a lasting.
I have this vantage point with the light right there that I can see the color profiles of the bottles here.
Yeah.
And the differences, and it's like it's the exact same color profile as the bourbon, and then whoa, what we got coming here?
Well, yeah,
is
what
just-
is,
looks like a big old glass bottle of flavor that's just gonna.
Augie, it's funny you say that because my dad, who's across the room, who drove me here, made that exact same observation before we left his house to come up here. He was like, look at how much darker that 1973 is. And so, should we get into the 73?
Let's get into the 73.
Are you guys sure you want to drink the #1 spirit in the world?
Let me see. Hold on, August. Let me get you.
I'm in.
Leo,
Just so we're clear.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's the bottle, the packaging is very Art Deco.
Yes.
It's very Great Gatsby, 1930s Art Deco.
Excellent way
feel
to
it.
describe it. I was trying to think of the word. It's Art Deco Gatsby. That's perfect.
Yeah, and it's is there those glass stoppers?
They are glass stoppers.
glass,
Yeah,
yeah.
it makes an incredible seal, a terrific vacuum. Unlike cork, you're not going to get any decay. So this stuff will keep for years and years, decades and decades.
Oh, welcome to the dark side. Look at this.
Wow.
I told you. Sitting here right with the
Are you sure?
with the light right there. It's like, are you kidding me?
And
Looks
Jamie,
like Dr. Pepper. You know?
Jamie,
Yeah.
I got to give another shout out to my dad on this bottle here. So
Yeah.
Raj and I were fooling around with design.
really hear you, unless you
sorry.
get the microphone.
Yeah. So, Jamie, I got to give another shout out to my dad on this bottle here. So we were fooling around with ideas in terms of the bottle design. And Raj and I, again, we're both history nerds, design nerds, love Art Deco. But my grandfather, my dad's father, was the chief engineer at Plymouth Dodge. So we were a Chrysler family.
Was the front of the
It is that's the Chrysler building,
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's brilliant.
and not the one here in Auburn Hills.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
The one in New York.
You'll stay up until this dome looks
wow.
like the top of the Chrysler building.
Holy
Talking
smokes.
about 1970s
All right.
and 80s coming into play
Cheers,
here.
gentlemen. What,
Cheers.
So what
Cheers,
is
fellas.
this
Yep.
is the number one whiskey? You said?
Number one spirit in the
one
world
spirit.
this year by Paul Picault. International Wine and Spirits Competition only gave it 98 points as opposed to 99 like Picault.
Yeah, screw those guys.
But we'll forgive
Oh, okay.
them.
This is the all right.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
So this has Armagnac on it. So
This is Armagnac.
meets the requirements of barreling and aging and
It does.
the French wood.
what
and,
a
Indeed.
difference from that original. But wow,
okay.
get
So
that in
th-
your face.
But to think, I'm not sure what year you guys were born in. A lot of you probably, I wasn't born.
1997.
There you go. Well done.
Make it 74.
Can I see your ID?
I'm 74 as well, so this is a year
A year
older
before you were born.
than you.
Yeah, well,
So these
I'm a little
grapes were
older than that.
grown, harvested, crushed into juice, fermented into wine, distilled, and loaded into a barrel while you were in your mama's belly.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was conceived right when this thing was bottled.
Do you have it? Have you done ancestry? Have you done ancestry.com? Any French in your DNA? Or
The Fox name, no.
I have a disappointing amount of French in my jest. For being named August Gitschlag, we have a lot of French. No, it's the Grand Champ, one of the original
that
founding
right?
French families of Detroit. Is my
wow.
my
Incredible.
my paternal grandmother's side.
okay. Yeah. So anyway, this 1973. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's
That is a, pardon the expression, that's a tasty treat.
yeah.
It really, really is.
Yeah, the complexity
Oh, my
behind
goodness.
that.
Just I get that
Is-
purple grape, on the back end.
Yeah, and
Just-
like stewed plum,
yeah,
stewed
it's
fruit.
right, yeah.
But there's some
yeah.
earth there, and there's some tobacco there, and there's caramel there, and it just hits you in waves. And look, as great as the bourbon was, amazing as the rum was, you get to something like this.
It's a different animal. It's a different animal.
It is completely different.
Yeah.
It's almost sweeter, right, than that.
Are there
the
any
bourbon.
chars
Not
in
a
these
sweet
barrels?
way, but in a
Do they char these barrels at
flavor.
all?
Very lightly. Very
Okay,
lightly.
because I'm getting a little bit of the char
Yep.
in this.
it's incredible.
That long
can
and wood,
feel that.
it'll pick it up a little bit. And the other thing too is these are larger format containers than a standard whiskey barrel.
Sure,
Standard
okay.
whiskey barrel is about 200 liters.
Yeah.
These are 400.
Okay.
The initial aging barrel, and then they tend to rebarrel the thing after a while into a larger format container because you still want that evaporative loss. You still want the volatile alcohol to bleed off.
Right.
But
They want the angel's cut of that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you don't want that intense influence of the wood for 50 years.
Right.
And so the way they manage that is by recasking into larger format casks, 1,000 liters, 5,000 liters.
Okay.
Some of them are half the size of this room.
Wow. Okay.
I believe that.
Another thing that we're so lucky, our cellar master, Bernard Domecq, he had been working with Maison Riche du Perron, from whom we acquired these stocks since 1970. So he's on 53 years. He's actually formally retired. The French government forces you to retire at a certain point.
Yeah.
Bernard didn't quit. He still he doesn't get paid. He still comes in. Yeah, sorry,
There's
France.
people protesting all over the damn country right now about the retirement age, and you're calling your boy out.
Well, there goes the UAW.
The subway's on fire right now.
Yeah, YouTube, take this down in France. But in any event, Bernard comes in every day, but every drop of Bhakta Spirit are Armagnacs, are brandies that you've tasted and that you're going to taste from the 1970 vintage to the present, from the moment that stuff came off the still, through those months, those years, those decades that led up until it went in the bottle in the last 12 months or so, Bernard was there every step of the way. You're not just tasting something that's the embodiment of a year, of a culture, of a terroir, of a geographic region. This is the work of one magnificent man's lifetime. So cheers to Bernard.
Cheers.
And all the rage, though, is all these single barrel, one barrel. It's been in that barrel for X amount of years. My favorite whiskeys are always the blends that are consistent. I find nothing wrong with that. There's a whole side of the bourbon snobbery that's all about that single barrel. You're paying extra for that one barrel, and it has a certain cinnamon stave in it that's going to make it. Nice. The blends that are consistent, professionally done. That's the science that I want to taste.
It's the art of the blender.
It is the art, and this is you don't claim that you're like, look. We're bragging about the fact that we're blending this stuff, and you're going to get these flavors you couldn't get any other way.
No, that's right.
And
that's
it's delicious.
Yeah,
Love it.
Thank you very much.
I just confessed to Jamie that this is the actual first time I've ever tried an Armagnac.
I'm a virgin. I'm a virgin too.
I've never heard the word before.
I'm a smart,
No.
educated man.
No, I've heard it about the barrel, the aged in Armagnac barrels, and I think it was from the Whistle Pig, and since
The Boss Hog.
But it on its own, I've never ventured down there. Yeah.
And you know what else I tell people? I'm not just a Bhakta Armagnac fan, and we're not just an Armagnac house. By the way, we're doing bourbon, we're doing rum.
Sure.
But my passion now is Armagnac, and it's not just Bhakta Armagnac. To me, the fact that you can walk into a store and you can find a bottle of spirit that's 50 years old plus that was distilled in, pre-1973.
That's not chartreuse.
Great. That's for a couple $100 a bottle, when these days people are trying to sell you a no age statement whiskey that was strapped to an ocean liner, or maybe or bombarded with or bombarded with heavy metal music, and all of a sudden they can look, this stuff.
Like an Iraqi war prisoner.
And don't get me wrong. Some of those are they're fine.
Yeah, YouTube's taking it down.
Some of these, I don't mean to disparage some of the other people who are in the space. These are fine. They're fine spirits, and they taste good.
People are paying a lot more for trickery instead of age.
This is real.
People are paying more for a crazy crystal skull bottle
than authenticity.
Leo brought it up.
Than the product.
Leo brought it up, so we have to get to that. We have to talk about the price points on these gems.
Okay.
Because I'm like about to go find a liquor store, but I don't know if I have enough credit.
Yeah.
So we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I've got to check our Michigan pricing, because we just launched a number of these products here. We've literally been in the Michigan market for about 2 months. Oh, wow. But I'm going to say...
All right.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? The bourbon, I think... SRP
Ballpark.
on the shelf about $170 a bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we've got the rum is $550. It's just rare. There's only 1,500 bottles that are ever going to get made.
Of that rum.
Of that rum.
That's a $550 bottle of rum.
There's only 1,400.
That's why he brought security with him.
And 90. Yeah.
His dad and the boy.
That's extremely rare.
Oh, wow, okay.
Extremely exclusive.
So this rum, with the rum, we were just, wow, okay.
Yeah,
good Lord.
1,500 bottles is all that's going to get made. And a lot of it's just going to get hand sold to collectors.
Yeah.
It's not going to end up on the back shelf of a bar.
No. Okay.
No distributor is gonna carry it? I mean, it's going to have
The
to go
distributors
right.
will pick it up. They have.
Really? If you
And
don't-
there are some stores like off premise. You're not going to sell it at bars and restaurants, but
Yeah, right,
you know,
right.
there-
Okay, true.
There
Some of
are
the
a
high-end
handful of the
stores.
higher end
That's the only way you can do it in
and
Michigan, right? You
some
gotta
of the
do it that way,
Yeah,
so
well, there are
it kinda
guys.
sucks, but
you know
yeah,
what,
it's the only way.
Augie? There are guys who will buy cases of this.
I believe
Because
it.
it's the best stuff in the world.
If
And
you'll sell
for
it to them, they'll buy it.
yeah, for some guys, $550. It's like I don't care. I want the best stuff.
That's a minute while they're sleeping. Honestly,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
Wow.
right.
Okay.
And this is actually
Historic district of Lake Orion.
the Bhakta 1973 Armagnac. Again, this is the best spirit in the world. I think you'll find this on the shelves here in Michigan for about $450 a bottle, which I think is very, like, you compare it to the Boss Hog. The Boss Hog 1, original SRP on that stuff was $169 a bottle. If you can find that stuff these days, you buy it at auction and it's $10,000 to $15,000.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's like,
No, we've talked a
can
lot
find it.
about
if you
If you can find it.
on the show. We've talked a lot about gift giving, good things to give. These are those really special things that you when if you get into it, you save it for a very special occasion. If you really care about the person, it'd be a gift, but it's that really special occasion that you hang on to with something like this. That's why you guys went with what you did with the toppers. They're glass toppers. It's going to keep.
Yeah.
And you got to keep
That's
it.
right.
You got to keep it in a cool, dark, cool place. And it'll keep that much longer. But that you spend that money because you want to hang on to it for that special occasion.
Matt, that's another great point. I sort of made the point earlier about birth years, anniversaries, especially with this vintage Armagnac. What's your year?
Yeah.
When were you
can
born?
you,
When
can
were
you call up a year?
Yeah.
And okay.
I can call up a 74.
Yeah,
and-
if you look, we can't distribute everything here in Michigan because it's state controlled. But there are retailers. You
Can I
can
call
go
up
on their website.
Can I call up
and-
a 48 or a 49?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Our vintages go back to 1868. You may have to take out a second mortgage.
Yeah.
As you should.
But no, to me, the other cool thing about these vintages, though, to your point, though, Matt, I had made the point earlier, they don't spoil on the front end. You're not going to pull the cork like you would with a 1973 wine and get vinegar. But look, I like wine. I like spirits. I do reasonably well, but I don't spend more than $100 a bottle on anything.
Sure.
To me, that's crazy. Because there's so much good stuff that's under $100 a bottle.
Amen.
But with this stuff, you pull the cork on it, you pour two of them, and you can do that for the next 20 years.
Right.
It's not a one and done like it is with the wine.
This is notably different.
Very much so.
As we opened each one, I was like, oh, this is not a rum. This is different than a rum. It's like this is not a bourbon. This is different. And this,
And I've
I have
had
no
some
frame
of
of
the
reference on
Pappies.
our rack.
I've
but,
had some of the Pappies. I've had some of the Louis cognacs in my day, and I've never tasted anything like this.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone says the Pappies are overrated anyway. Just give me a good bottle of Weller, and I'll be thrilled. It's the same as. But this is a distinctively different flavor.
Yeah. It's amazing. I'm convinced this is the best.
So you and Raj
the
pretty
best
happy
stuff
with
in
the
the world.
project so far?
Look, it's a struggle, because we've got a lot on our plate.
Sounds like you're struggling with your campus.
Oh, that's why. That's why.
Yeah. When
Talk to your
you're-
wife about that.
when you're managing trying to redevelop 500,000 square feet and 150 acres in the middle of nowhere in Vermont, honestly, this is the easy part because this stuff is so good. The quality is so high. The campus redevelopment project, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But that's what gets us going because this we know.
Yeah.
This is a layup. We could do this with our blindfolded in our sleep with our eyes closed. We know. Look, I don't mean to sound boastful, but we've been around good spirits long enough that we know how to find good stuff ourselves and how to talk to people who can find us.
You have resources.
We do.
And you exercise those resources as you rightfully should because you want to grow again.
Right.
Right.
But we want to make a difference. And that's what gets Raj up in the morning. It's not about bringing these great spirits to the world as much as we love this. It's about turning around this campus because this was the beating heart of this town. And, all the professors, the 1,200 students, the economic engine of Pulteney was Green Mountain College. And you shut that down and it's gone. So for us, this is a chance. Look, Raj grew up in Philadelphia. working class area of Philadelphia. Like I told you guys, I grew up in Sterling Heights. Remember going downtown with my dad, seeing the decay, the broken. Detroit's come back.
Oh, yeah, Detroit ruined porn is a part of my childhood.
Yeah.
And then watching it, I still wanted to tear down that last factory on the freeway, but whatever.
Yeah.
No, but to see that, to see how like this greatness that gets brought down, but then we've also had the good fortune to see in our lifetimes it begin to come back.
The resurgence. The resurgence has been going on since
the Renaissance.
For the last 10 years.
Since the Renaissance.
Since the Renaissance. Yeah, it's been, but Detroit in itself, you've been seeing a turn for the past decade.
Yeah.
The past 10 years have definitely been different downtown. And you see that difference.
No, but Raj and I have that same ethos where if we can find something that's old and broken down and forgotten, whether it's rye whiskey as a category or whether it's the busted up old farm in Vermont that he bought that became the home of Whistle Pig without knowing what he was going to do with it. This old hotel he redeveloped. We like Armagnac as a category, this college campus. If you can find something that's got greatness in it, but that's been forgotten and overlooked, and for whatever reasons, due to accidents of history and geography, fallen by the wayside. But if you can recognize the beauty in it and the value in it, and bring that story to the world, like maybe I don't know Dan Gilbert. Maybe he's a great guy. Maybe he's terrible. But what he did downtown, and what the Illiches did downtown. Look, we're not the Gilberts, and we're not the Illiches. But if we can do that
a difference
on a smaller scale with this product on that campus in that town to make the world a little bit of a better place, you know what? I can check out 30 years from now and say, you know what? We did all right.
So I have to ask the question because Bhakta, the name Bhakta comes from Raj's, his last name. I'm really curious to know, where did Whistle Pig come from? How did that become a brand?
There's a crazy backwards story that.
Is there an age filter on this webcast thing that you guys have going here? All right, I'll tell you the truth because that's all I know how to do. So anyway.
Well, you are an attorney.
I'm not a good one, though. That's why I'm in beverage alcohol. I wasn't good enough at lying. I had to go into a more honest profession like selling poison. So
It's funny. Dude, my buddy's distiller. He says, I sell poison. He's a brewer. He says, I sell poison.
There you go.
That's his joke.
That's 100% honesty. I love it.
Technically.
So let me see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so how did the name Whistle Pig come about? Great question. Great story. So anyway, these were back in the days when Raj had bought what was called the West. You guys ski? Have you been out to Vail?
I'm an avid skier.
Bunny Hill.
Okay. So
avid skier.
Pine Knot Bunny Hill.
have you been out to Vail?
I have been in Colorado, but not to Vail. I've been in Crested Butte. I've been other places.
So you know the area.
Yes.
So anyway, Raj buys this place, and I'll pass this around so I can stay at the microphone. I prefer to pour for you, but
You're good.
okay. So anyway, Raj buys this place called the West Vail Lodge, and this was right before he went on The Apprentice. That's another story too.
Okay.
Maybe that's for the next podcast. But anyway.
I have a feeling you have enough material we can bring you back.
So anyway, West Vail Lodge, he buys this lodge. Raj loves hiking. He loves the outdoors. That's why he loves Vermont. So, and he's kind of a crazy guy too. So he would wake up at 5 in the morning, and he would
In the wintertime.
Anytime.
Okay.
And he loves the cold. He loves going on. He likes taking hikes when it's 25 below with 50-mile-per-hour winds in Vermont.
Naked?
No, he's not done that. But we do have something. Doug can tell you about the Bhakta Griswold method, though, which does involve cold plunges.
Okay.
Alternating
fair enough.
with 200-degree saunas.
All right.
Which will leave you feeling like $1 million. But anyways, Raj has a little bit of the Willie. If you get my Willie Nelson in the morning, before he goes off on this hike. And so he's going up this 10,000-foot peak at 5 in the morning. And this guy He looks up the hill, narrow trail with a 1,000-foot drop off the side. Guy comes tearing down the hill on a mountain bike towards him. Long, flowing white hair, knob-kneed, 6'6", about 130 pounds. Just an incredibly unusual-looking man. Stops his mountain bike about 1.5 feet away from Raj. Raj thought he was going to get run off the trail and have to dive down the 1,000-foot crevasse to avoid getting run over. But anyway, this guy leans into him in a very heavy French accent. Leans right in, gets right in his face, and he says, "Could it be a whistle pig?" And Raj stands there dumbfounded. And Raj is not usually a man who's at a loss for words. And he's like, and he says, a whistle pig. And then he goes, and then he makes like this smooching sound and smacks his fingers together like that. And Raj is standing there thinking, this guy must be a serial killer. And these are like the last words he says to everyone before he plunges the dagger.
Yeah.
But no, the guy,
25.
so he's still standing there dumbfounded. And so the Frenchman goes, "Ugh." He gives like a Gallic shrug of the shoulders and like that Frenchman grunt and goes tearing off the hill on the mountain bike. And so Raj stands there for a good 10 or 15 minutes as he tells the story, just pondering the meaning of this. And he's looking at the clouds and at the mountains and at the stream below. And he decides that this was a message from God. That someday I'm going to have to do something with this name, Whistle Pig. And so he buys, after a failed congressional run, he buys a farm in the middle of nowhere in Vermont, inspired by these sort of like back to the land writers and, find your meaning, like doing agricultural work, buys this farm and names it Whistle Pig Farm. Before the Spirits brand had even been born.
Oh, so he called it Whistle Pig Farm.
Yeah, so the farm was Whistle Pig before the brand was
Just
Whistle
because
Pig.
of this kooky adventure in Vail.
That's great.
And the rest, then the farm became the locus for this notion of a grain-to-glass distillery, which became Whistle Pig. And so that name got attached to that brand.
I thought it was like a down south Boss Hog barbecue kind of.
We got there, too.
Yeah.
So
but,
Dave Pickrell...
No, it was a French lunatic on a bike in Colorado.
In the Colorado Rockies, yeah.
Who knew?
There's a story to everything.
Augie, what's this bottle look like?
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, what is... Oh, my God, I love that.
It says 50 years old.
I never knew that.
Because it's
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
So that reminds me of a quick story that's really funny. Right after the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup, I was in a private party.
94?
Yes, 94. We're freshmen in college. My friend's band's playing this party, and a bunch of the Red Wings are there. And Anders Eriksson is just piss drunk. And we were all going to do a shot, and my one friend, or have a drink and toast. My one friend didn't have a drink, and he goes, oh, and he pulls a bottle of Budweiser out of his back pocket, hands it to my friend, cracks it. We're like, what a nice guy, cool. Go an hour later, we're up at the bar, we owe him a shot. We all go to do a shot, and he holds it up, he goes, no, I must toast to poopy eyes. And we're all standing there like, what?
Poopy eyes.
And then it clicks, I go, you're Swedish. You mean shit-faced. You want to get shit-faced, not poopy eyed. And he goes, yes!
The poopy eyes.
Everyone just looking in silence.
The literal translation.
Here's to poopy eyes. What?
To poopy eyes.
So my friends and I still do this 40 years later. We cheers to having poopy
To
eyes.
Anders Eriksson and poopy eyes.
To pink eye.
So anyway, guys, what you're drinking right now, this is the Bhakta 50, blend of 8 different vintages. Youngest 1970, oldest 1868. Smoky and peaty, finished in an Isla whiskey cask. And that's why we call it brandy and not Armagnac.
Okay. That's got a kind of a Scotch feel to it.
Yeah,
absolutely,
big
yeah.
time Scotchy.
So that was the idea here, Matt,
Scotch.
to build the bridge from
like
the whiskey
Scotch.
and the Scotch drinker into brandy and Armagnac as a category.
This will bring them in.
I can't believe that this and Jezhnówka are in the same category as a brandy. Jezhnówka is the Polish blackberry brandy we drink down in Hamtramck like crazy.
Polish rocket fuel.
I have I have a Burgundy Bronco with the license plate Yeji.
Nice.
For the state of Michigan because of how much Jezhnówka I've drank.
Well,
But this is an interesting brandy. This is completely
Holy
different
smokes.
flavor profile. Literally, smoke. Completely smokes.
And again, everything you guys do, it's complexity.
It is layering
it's,
and balance, and
because after selling Whistle Pig to Wall Street, probably didn't have to work.
No, he didn't.
You know,
He could have lived on the beach in Vero Beach for the rest of his life.
And so
And met a lot of French guys.
So this is very boutique. I mean, these
are.
are very boutique. These are very high end. You know, he's not worried about churning out a ton.
That's right.
He's
Doing it right.
He's interested in the craft and the artistry of it.
Like I said, like the flavors of blends are my favorite.
But Jamie, I would say doing it right in the way we want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you went into like a marketing meeting at Diageo or Beam Suntory and said, tell you what, we've got this great supply of ancient Armagnac, and we're going to take a bunch of vintages we're going to slap a 50-year age statement on it and take a bunch of vintages dating from 1970 back to 1868 and blend them together and finish them in an Isla whiskey cask. Do you know what they'd fire you?
What is
Yeah.
Isla whiskey cask? What does that mean?
It's Scotch.
Scotch. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Isla is way up in the northwest of Scotland. There's a series of islands that are off the northwest coast that are very remote, very windswept, very barren, and trees don't grow there.
The old band we had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got
So
it.
their fuel source historically, instead of burning like trees, they cut turf.
Yep.
They go out into the peat bogs, and they basically
man.
shovel up mud. They dry it out,
Yep.
and Jamie, you probably if you've been in rural Ireland, maybe or if you were there 20 years.
You see the peat in the bog.
Yeah.
Actually, it's they're cutting it back. It's there's
it's
a
not
shortage, and it's deteriorating the landscape. And,
Jack Donaghy always said his dad was a damn mud farmer.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. They
It's-
go out and they cut turf and they dry it into bricks, and that's what they would heat the stills with. And as they were
30. All right.
as they were heating the stills, though, they would smoke.
dry it out.
They would
Okay.
smoke the grain. And so the grain would
okay.
absorb some of that peatiness.
Yep.
And then when they went and fermented it, it would come through on the spirit. And so Isla is one of probably two places in Scotland where that's regularly done. The other is the Orkneys way off on the north coast, which is an incredible place in its own right. But yeah, Isla is your Lagavulins, your Lafroigs, your Oban. Yeah, that's their home. Bunyaben.
Well, you're getting the sea in there. and
Absolutely.
You're getting
There's a salinity to it, isn't there, Jamie?
Yeah. Just all from that cask, all from that barrel.
With a super great, super old blend of Armagnacs underlying it with an incredible amount of history to it. I mean, to us, the other historical fact that keeps us going on this stuff, I mean, our 1868, between 1868 and the present day, do you know how many times Germany invaded France?
How many?
Fast.
Over under. Let's go.
August Gitschlag didn't mean to jump in on that so quick.
Yeah. But I know.
Kid in school.
Not so enthusiastic. Yeah, with the right hand. Oh my god. I saw that, Matt.
Hey, man.
I think it was innocuous.
Now, I mean,
And even to think about what these spirits have made it through.
Yeah.
What they've lived through, right?
Wars,
Being in this
revolutions.
cellars of wars and revolutions happening above them.
Not
Yeah.
just these spirits, but the stuff you guys are drinking right now.
Right.
Oh, the benefit of being the
1868.
landlocked,
Correct.
away from the rivers, away from
Yeah.
just
That's
in the
right.
middle of
That's
like you
right.
said, middle of
That's
nowhere,
right. Yeah.
France.
See, I was on a hunt for a book. I was looking for, because when we bought the house, I'm like, my wife and I went house hunting, and she's like, I want to look at these 40 houses. I'm like, you're out of your mind. We're not going to look at 40 houses today. I go, pick 10, 8 of them that you want to see. She's like, all right, we're going to look at these, but we're starting with this one.
Wait. She said, I would look at 40 houses. She said, no, we're starting with a house from 1840.
No, she didn't. She was. I'm looking at this one, and then we got there.
No, I was not.
Yeah,
Clearly I was not.
Yeah, no. And so we get in the driveway, and she's like, "Oh, this is cool." And we're bringing up the listing. I'm like, "This can't be right." And she's like, "I'm like, wow, this thing says it's built in 1831." And she's like, no, I mean, it could be. And I'm like, I don't know.
Troy.
In Troy.
It had to have been one
Michigan.
of the original settlements. Right?
Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
And we're like, holy crap! And it's just gorgeous. And she's standing there. She's like, I don't know about you two, me and my stepson Colin. She goes, but I'm living here.
It's like that scene from Ghostbusters where it's got a pole. This is still
We can stay here tonight. Try it out. So, but it's like, it's just the history, behind it is.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I
Cross the
pinch
streams,
myself.
Ray.
It's just.
I'm pinching Matt and Jamie right now, thanking them for allowing me to be on this podcast so I can try this amazing stuff.
Yeah. This is great.
No, I'll drink to Clausen and Guardian Angel. So,
The city of
Augie,
Clausen.
the work you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's a great town. I
Pass
used
it
to
on.
watch the fireworks
Cilantro.
there. A lot of good friends in that town, and it's changed though. Like downtown is
The little
like
city with the big heart
booming.
is booming. And
Yeah.
we don't have enough capacity for the amount of restaurants and bars that want to come there. There's people that want to be in Clausen. They want to be at that crossroads of 14 and Main, right in the heart of that walkability. And there's just not enough capacity.
Would you say Noble Fish got it started though, or what? There used to be a great bakery there, like a German bakery. Do you
There's
remember that
the
place?
The
or?
White Wolf, the Japanese bakery, is there.
Okay.
And now there's Noble Village. That whole block is becoming a Noble
Wow.
thing. And then I was at Weiss Distilling yesterday for a tasting with their distiller.
Yeah.
Featherbowl with a Caju. And that place is just drawing people that never were going to come to Clausen before, that weren't just pizza and Bud Light Renshaw people, that are coming into town to check it out. Whiskey Taco Foxtrot is like bringing people into town that have never been to town before.
The cute little Lululemon.
Three Cats.
Yeah,
and Lululemon.
and that has
Lululemon.
it's been like a maker's art kind of thing, and now
They
it's
took over the old
evolved
theater,
into
and they
like
made
a
a restaurant
really
in the
nice
theater,
restaurant,
and it works.
and that has been an anchor there for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, they have great
It's
food
just
with some novelty socks next to you on a rack.
Cooler.
It's like wonderful.
Clausen is culturally cooler than you think it is.
We have the magic shop
Great.
that started in Royal Oak, that went to Berkeley, and ended up in Clausen.
It used to just be the Pizza Hut and the Zider party shop when I was there.
The Pizza Hut's gone. It's gone. It's now free parking. The brown bag that was on the other side of the Pizza Hut is now Mojave Canteen, an amazing taco and Mexican joint.
Progress, I guess.
There's Zioli's Italian. I'm very proud of what they're doing in downtown
Augie,
Clausen.
sometimes us old farts have just got to get out of the way, I guess, too.
Yeah.
As great as this history is and stuff, Clausen looks amazing. It
does.
Yeah. So with that, Doug, what's going on here in the city of Lake Orion that you're looking forward to over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
as
there's-
people come down to the Wine Social,
Nice economic development segue, Matthew.
Thank you.
Used to be a banker.
It's called being a professional. Professional what?
Yeah, we've got kind of a really nice hidden little gem here.
yeah.
It's a historic village. We now have a social district, so we have to-go containers, so you can kind of mill and walk around and such with your to-go container.
So you can actually walk out with a spirit in your hand
You
around.
can, correct, yeah. As long as it's the right cup kind of
Yeah,
thing. But
sure.
you can go out and walk around. We do a lot of festivals. We do a restaurant week. We do a big 4th of July festival down here. Flower Fest. They do a really good job of for being a small Oakland County, northern Oakland County suburb, of doing events.
Right.
We're fortunate enough to have the lakes that we do here.
Well, so White Lake does Quake on the Lake and what have you. Is there something that's similar
We
here?
do Dragon on the Lake.
Dragon on the
coming
Lake,
up in
yes.
August. That's our big event. We do the dragon races on the lake. And then downtown, there's a big tent right behind us here in the parking lot where there's bands. The Mega 80 bands usually play, but there's different bands that come.
I can tell you stories about the Mega
I love
80s.
it.
Yeah,
they're
and
fun.
we do a big art tent, and there's other festivals around through. But that's our big summer festival is Dragon on the Lake, the Lake Orion Dragon. So
Sure.
hence
The Dragon Boats is their version of the Hamtramck canoe races.
Yes. That's taking it up north. So the Wine Social people want to find out about this. Is there a website?
Yep, wine-social.com. Wine-social.com. Yep. We're on Instagram, Facebook.
So you got like a
website.
DJ here some nights.
Yeah, we do
and-
live music Wednesday through Saturdays.
Okay, fun.
Wednesday is kind of our big wine night.
Okay.
We do wine flights and such. We're very wine heavy, but we do either a classical pianist or a jazz pianist. Sometimes single guitar player. But and then Thursdays we do dueling pianos, depending on which Thursday. So the first Thursday of the month. And then we'll rotate through different guitar players and such.
I don't see a piano in here. Do they bring their own, or is it keyboards?
So it's kind of cool. So they have keyboards,
all right,
but we built these like boxes for them essentially. Right?
So they look
So
like.
it looks like
it because we just unfortunately don't have their. We've had piano players that say like, "Hey, can we?"
It's a
keep
grand
our piano
piano.
here? But we just don't have the room.
Couple baby grands
we were
over in the corner.
Originally half the space, and when I first had the idea of doing dueling pianos, 'cause I love live music.
Sure.
We were literally half the space, and we set them up in the front there, and it was like a big bowling alley, starting out the bowling alley. But now we're a little more attuned to a little more space, and it flows better. But yeah, then the weekends, Friday and Saturday, we do usually like a classical guitar player in the beginning of the night, and then it kind of transitions into a DJ. Yep, later on in the night, and it's just a fun community place. Everyone's go see the bartenders hanging out, dancing together, and we've got 3 different husband and wife bartenders here. One of the kids, where their kids and their daughter and their daughter's fiance work here. So it's literally it's a family affair. But
living in down in the city in like the Hamtramck area, I'm literally looking at Airbnbs where I can come and spend like a weekend here, just in this little downtown that I did not have any much familiarity with. And thank you for bringing us up here. This is great.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
for
Doug.
coming up.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yes,
Welcome to my neck of the woods.
Glad to host. For sure.
I'm right in Auburn Hills. I'm like a neighbor.
Oh yeah, right down the street. Yeah.
Janie, Matt, Augie, thank you, gentlemen, so much for
Oh,
having
you
me
guys,
on.
yeah.
It's a pleasure. And if you're ever in Vermont, come see us, okay? Don't be strangers.
I'm going to steal a little bit more of
So
this rum
Bhakta
before
is,
Is
there a website that
that's just bad form.
I'm going to sample a
I
little bit more.
think it's
BhaktaSpirits.com.
BhaktaSpirits.com. It is, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's where you'll find us.
I too don't want to have bad form. So
No, you have to.
Or you can
have
just
to
come
toast
see me.
properly. Yeah,
I'm in Ann Arbor.
Rules are
I'm not
rules.
far, so, you know.
No, but BhaktaSpirits.com, ManCaveHappyHour.com, Jamie,
There you
August. It's been a
Matt.
Doug. God, come on, Leo. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Na zdrowie.
That's the